New Yorkers, they're rude, they're crude, they don't give you any time, no one's friendly when you walk down the street. I don't get that.
No,
I don't
it's
get
not
that at
true.
all. I actually love the
That's a huge
people.
misconception,
It's a huge
yeah.
misconception. When we walk down the street, I love how friendly people are to us.
He had fame, wealth, and a dream life millions were green with envy about, until it all came crashing down. Behind the smiling face on Property Brothers, Drew Scott was concealing a heartbreaking tragedy that threatened to ruin everything he'd worked for. The world witnessed success, but not many knew what he endured behind the scenes. What actually happened to the star who appeared to have it all? Keep with us as we unravel the emotional truth. The twins' childhood on April 28, 1978, in Vancouver City, Canada, Drew Scott and Jonathan Scott were born. They were identical twins and the youngest children of the Scott family. In their lives, from the start, there was creativity as well as discipline. Their parents, Jim and Joanne Scott, provided them with a household where imagination as well as hard work were on par with one another. Jim Scott had previously been in the Hollywood movie business. His profession as an actor and stuntman provided him with an understanding of life that was different from others. He enjoyed the rush of sets, cameras, and action, but he eventually moved away from that to establish a calmer life involving ranching and family. The boys grew up listening to tales of his time in the films, which instilled an early love of entertainment. At the same time, they observed in him the value of persistence, discipline, and the ability to reinvent himself when the situation called for it. Their mother, Joanne, added another type of influence. She was interested in education, order, and planning, and she ensured her children knew the importance of learning and hard work at school. From an early age, Drew and Jonathan were distinguished by their creativity and vitality. They were not satisfied to sit around or have things done for them by their parents. Jim wanted to provide his children with an opportunity to learn to appreciate effort. At age 7, he established little chores throughout the house that had attached rewards. Already at 8 years old, the twins had already ventured into the entrepreneurial world. They started creating nylon-wrapped hangers, a basic product that they made with their bare hands. Rather than making it their hobby, they decided to escalate it to the next level. They canvassed their neighborhood door to door in a charming and persistent introduction of themselves and their hangers for sale to anyone who would take them. It was not a glamorous task, but a salesmanship, patience, and persistence crash course. The turning point arrived when one woman recognized their potential and ordered a wholesale shipment of the hangers. For the boys, this was a victory of more than money. It was confirmation that their hard work could result in actual success. That order ignited a fire within both of them. They understood they could make something worth something and persuade others of its value. They were no longer merely kids seeking pocket money after that. They were young entrepreneurs with aspirations that went way beyond their little community. The family they were raised in was not conventional. Joanne remained to direct them to their education, making sure school was not avoided. She pushed reading, writing, and concentration, while Jim pushed them to be creative and pursue possibilities. The combination of academia and creativity provided the twins with a balanced upbringing. They were taught to dream big, but also to be diligent and plan. These initial businesses were not just about making coins to spend on toys and treats. The business of selling nylon hangers taught them valuable lessons that would one day pay off. They learned how to negotiate, how to deal with all types of people, and how to handle rejection without losing confidence. But what happened to two young boys who sold hangers and had dreams of the big time and became household names on TV? Let's discover. From clowns to cameras as Drew and Jonathan Scott grew up during their teenage years, their ambition and energy just became more robust. While numerous teens used their leisure time to concentrate on school or athletics, the twins were already trying out various methods of making money and honing their craft. One of their first business ideas was performing at children's parties. They learned how to be clowns, from the costumes to the balloons and tricks, and soon gained fame in their neighborhood through their lively acts. The work might have appeared frivolous, but it took discipline, patience, and the skills to hold the attention of children. These early performances were an arena through which they learned to perform, make people laugh, and feel confident in front of strangers. Their sense of humor and showmanship, which later contributed to their TV popularity, was developed there in those full living rooms full of laughing kids. For Drew specifically, sports at one time seemed to be his destiny. Taller and leaner than most, naturally athletic as well, he wanted to play basketball professionally. The prospect of playing competitively on the court appealed to his competitive nature, and he gave the sport every fiber of his body. Tragically, injuries did that. What had been a very promising athletic career was brought to a sudden close, leaving him to find a new path. It was a hard transition, but one that introduced him to a different interest that had been long simmering inside of him: entertainment. Growing up in a home in which their father, Jim, had once been a stuntman and performer for TV and film, Drew was well acquainted with the world of television and movies. It was something that had always intrigued him, and after basketball was no longer a possibility, he embraced that fascination with complete fervor. Before long, doors started opening. Drew played minor parts in popular series, such as Smallville, where he acted as a body double for Tom Welling and guest starred on Breaker High in Madison. These were not lead parts, but they provided him with worthwhile, first-hand experience on working sets. He watched how productions were set up, how directors directed actors, and how even the most minor detail went into the final show. Working on these shows was more than a thrilling experience. It provided Drew with a sense of what it was like to be employed in the entertainment industry, and he came to realize the commitment that it took. He began to appreciate timing, memorization, and the need to remain flexible in an arena that never really guaranteed security. These little but significant experiences ignited his enthusiasm and made him believe that being in front of the camera was where he was meant to be. Jonathan, although no less gifted, was more inclined toward designing and building, but he nurtured his brother's dreams and enjoyed sharing the thrill of venturing into new areas of artistry. Even with all his excitement, Drew soon learned that being alone would not guarantee financial stability. The entertainment business was capricious, with doors opening and closing unexpectedly. He turned again to real estate, a field that he and Jonathan had already experimented in during their university days at the University of Calgary, to support himself. They had invested, remodeled, and leased buildings to other students, and Drew observed how this skill set could hold him over during his acting career. This was a turning point in his life. By keeping real estate alongside acting, Drew was able to combine two very disparate passions. On the one hand, he was able to keep pursuing the excitement of being involved in television and film. Conversely, he was able to depend upon the consistent revenue and problem-solving that real estate offered. Fixing up houses, negotiating contracts, and dealing with tenants provided him with the assurance that no matter what happened with auditions, he could always provide for himself. Afterwards, when they entered into university, another key turning point lay in store, one which would subtly determine the trajectory of their future. From real estate to production, when Drew and Jonathan Scott started their university life at the University of Calgary, they wanted to study while staying independent financially. Most students were only concentrating on coursework, but the twins had already gained an entrepreneurial attitude, having started business ventures in their childhood. It did not take long when they noticed an opportunity that would pave the way for their future. Close to the campus, a rundown property could be had, and rather than viewing its decay, the brothers envisioned potential. They combined their meager funds, gambled on buying the house, and invested their time in its rehabilitation. With zest, they fixed up, painted, and enhanced each nook until it became a cozy home fit for student tenants. This choice was well made, as the property soon provided consistent income, and they both felt a sense of satisfaction and security. Their experience with this first home encouraged them to do more. Fixing up the property had not only earned its keep, but had also exposed their inborn abilities. Jonathan's talent for building and design complemented Drew's ability for negotiation and vision. They knew they had found a winning formula that they could repeat. With each successive project, the twins became more confident and their reputation grew locally. Peers and friends were impressed with how reliably the twins turned dilapidated buildings into attractive places. Not all of the process was easy. However, Dealing with realtors was often frustrating. They had worked with agents who were inefficient or did not meet their requirements. Drew did not want to allow failures to keep them at bay, so he chose to take matters under his control. He prepared himself for his license and became a licensed realtor, enabling the brothers to handle transactions personally. This move was a major turning point. While Drew attended to the business and Jonathan took care of construction, they were now able to finish projects with more control. Their professionalism was soon reflected in the formation of the Scott Real Estate Company. The Scott brothers were already flipping many properties by their mid-20s. With every successful project, their reputation grew as smart and dependable investors. They were not mere young men moonlighting in side enterprises. They were becoming well-known businessmen with a well-defined vision. Meanwhile, Drew could not dismiss the dream that haunted him since the time he was a teenager. The temptation of the entertainment world persisted. Acting was his passion, and though real estate offered stability, it was not altogether fulfilling his artistic soul. In 2006, Drew took a huge risk. He left Calgary for Vancouver, a city that had a thriving film culture, with the hope of following acting dreams. Jonathan remained behind to run the real estate firm, so their flourishing business stayed healthy. Yet, Drew's leap of faith was not simple. Entering the world of entertainment demanded more than drive, and before long, he was struggling financially. The comfort he once knew seemed far away as he fell into debt. This was a trying time for his resilience. Hard as it was to quit, Drew reverted to the abilities that had always served him. He brought the real estate venture back to Vancouver, using the same vigor and drive that had propelled their previous success. This helped him re-establish financial stability while forging alliances in the entertainment world. He took classes, approached auditions, and methodically built up his contacts. It was difficult to do both, but it showed how versatile and persistent he could be. Despite this troubled period, the brothers never lost their love of entertainment. With Jonathan and their older brother JD, Drew started Davidian Production Group in 2002. The firm specialized in independent film and TV productions, proving their passion for media was no phase. It was proof of a vision that spanned years, merging their creative spirit with business acumen. For Drew, it was such that even if there was little acting to be found, he was still making his mark on the world of production and storytelling. And then was the pitch that would alter his life forever. Let us tell you how the brothers persuaded a TV network to take a chance on them. The rise of Property Brothers by the late 2000s, television was looking for the next big concept in reality programming. Networks had witnessed the craze for talent competitions and were keen to merge that excitement with new topics. From this idea, Realtor Idol was born, aimed at replicating the style of American Idol. This was to feature real estate agents vying for attention, but the idea never got off the ground. There was no reaction from audiences while the